What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the JETS Jets. This is a very interesting time of the football NFL calendar, right? As I've been telling you, of course, the draft is on the horizon, free agency is on the horizon, but an important date to note is that next week is the beginning of the new league year. It's kind of like New Year's Day for the NFL. And here's the key. At that day, every team in the NFL has to be under the salary cap. So there's a lot of teams right now that are making moves with that goal in mind. They are trying to get under the cap, trying to have as much money under the cap as possible so they can then go out and replenish their roster and go ahead and spend, whether that's in free agency or signing ultimately their draft picks later on in April, right? So a lot of teams are out there making moves. I've been telling you the Jets started with about $24 million in cap space. They've made some moves already. They now have $34 million in cap space. One of the biggest moves is something that we talked about here on Jets Latest, and it's that they cut Davante Adams, okay? After that cut that saved them a ton of money, they now have about $34 million in cap space. But you can see teams are out there doing all sorts of things to shave money. And sometimes that even means big time players are being traded or cut or released. Kansas City, for example, traded their all-pro guard Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears. That helped them save money. Over in Seattle, which is one of the teams I told you about that was over the cap and had work to do, they released wide receiver Tyler Lockett, and they've allowed DK Metcalf to go ahead and trade or seek a trade. That is trying to get money off the books from them. The Los Angeles Chargers informed Joey Bosa that they are going to release him. Bosa is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, but the Chargers simply just can't afford it. They're going to look to reallocate, reprioritize their money. We've also seen guys like Christian Kirk in Jacksonville get moved. So the question is, what is the next move, if anything, for the New York Jets to get more cap space in advance of the free agent frenzy? Now, here's the thing. When Aaron Rodgers came over, they not only brought in his boy Davante Adams via trade, they also, if you remember, signed Alan Lazard a few years ago to be one of their wide receivers. And Lazard was coming off a few really good years in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. They thought that they were going to sign him, pair him with Rodgers, and he was going to be a stud. They signed Alan Lazard. He is counting $11 million on the books right now. He was one of the highest priced free agents the year they got him, but it hasn't really worked out. Last year in only 12 games for the Jets, Lazard had 37 catches, just over 530 yards. He did have 6 touchdowns, and there were a couple of games where he and Aaron Rodgers still showed that they obviously have that connection, but with Aaron Rodgers gone, it's not going to be worth the money. Okay, he was 5th in the team with targets with 36. Remember, last year the Jets drafted Malachi Corley. They obviously have Garrett Wilson, and we'll see what else they add in free agency or in the draft. The moral of the story is they are not going to pay Alan Lazard $11 million against the cap. So they have allowed him, just like Seattle with DK Metcalf, San Francisco with Deebo Samuel, the Rams having Ford Cooper Kupp, that they might look to trade him, right? You're going to see a lot of these moves, and the Jets are going to either try to find a trade partner for Alan Lazard who's willing to take on some of that money, or they are going to cut him themselves. That will potentially save more money as the Jets look to stack up resources for the new league year. Here's the deal, though. I don't think he's alone, okay? There is somebody else. As I look at some of the salaries on the Jets roster right now, there is a big-time member of the defense that the Jets could be either letting go, looking to trade, or asking to maybe even restructure his contract, and it's CJ Mosley. CJ Mosley came in a few years ago as a prize free agent looking to help establish the culture, really build that defense when it was Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. And to be quite honest, he did. He did a lot of character building, a lot of the chemistry building for these New York Jets. But here's the problem. He's now 32 years old. He's getting on there in age, and he has battled injuries over the last couple of years. He only played in 4 games last year, did CJ Mosley. He only had 17 tackles last year, did CJ Mosley, right? And And yes, he is still a good leader for the team, but the problem is he's making $8.25 million. $8.25 million is just too much money for the production that CJ Mosley is actually giving you now that he is in his early 30s. And we have other linebackers now. Quincy Williams has really come on as a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker. Even guys like Jamien Sherwood and others have really started to fill those roles at the linebacker level. And here's the other thing. I've told you when I talk about the secondary with the priority of a guy like DJ Reed, or I talk to you about the front four, the edge rushers, linebacker just isn't the kind of preeminent position on the field that it used to be. On the defensive side, there are three levels: the D-line, the linebackers, and the secondary. The linebacking level is really the kind of least important in this day and age in the NFL. With it all about the passing game, it's about covering the pass with the secondary, getting pressure on the quarterback with the defensive front. The linebackers are there really to stop the run, and with teams running less and less, you don't want to kind of allocate this much money to the linebacker level. So unfortunately, if the Jets are looking for savings, and I think they are, so they can get more money into the salary cap, I think they're going to do something with CJ Mosley and his $8.25 million. Although I do believe one of the things that could be possible is asking him to restructure his deal. I don't know that they're going to outright cut or release him. I don't know that they're going to trade him because, quite frankly, I don't know what other team is willing to take on a 32-year-old CJ Mosley at his contract value. So if they don't cut him, they may ask him to kind of restructure the deal and come back at a lower number. Those are two guys to look at, Allen Lazard and CJ Mosley, as the Jets try to, get more money under the salary cap so that they can spend in the free agent frenzy. And then there is actually one more, and this one we have known for a while, but technically Aaron Rodgers is still on the books for about $2.5 million, right? So that would be another savings. We have known for a few weeks now, I guess. The Jets, as soon as the new regime of Aaron Glenn and Darren Mogi came on, they informed Aaron Rodgers that he's not really a part of the plan. So in the next week, before the new league year, that transaction will also likely become official. And so we will officially move on from Aaron Rodgers. All these things in tow, $11 million for Lazard, $2.5 million for Rodgers, $8.25 for CJ Mosley. That's another $20 million that could come off the books. And like I said, the Jets are around $34 million under the cap. That would take them to maybe something around having $50 million to spend. And previously, if you remember, I've been talking to you about some candidates that they may want to sign in free agency, whether it's kind of bringing back a guy like DJ Reed, whether it's trying to get a defensive lineman like a Davenport, whether it's like an offensive lineman like Jedrick Wills, or others that we've talked about, some of the tight end options, because they've also informed Tyler Conklin that he's not going to come back, right? So these are places where they're shedding money, but then they are going to ultimately have to spend money as well. Lazard, CJ Mosley, Conklin, and of course, Aaron Rodgers are guys that are probably not going to be in green and white, at least not at the salary. In CJ Mosley's case, at least not at the salary that they are going to have. But this is a big week in the NFL. Like I said, you have seen this not just with the green and white, but all over the league where important names, talented players are going to be out there, whether it's being traded, or whether it's being outright released. And what that means is then now as we turn the page on a new league year starting next week, these guys are going to be free agents. And so there is going to be a frenzy for some of these players. I mean, guys like Boza, are out there. Guys like, Christian Kirk will be out there. So we'll see if the Jets are active once they get their finances where they want to, and it is Happy New Year in the NFL. One thing I know is for certain, we'll be here to cover it for you on Jets Latest, where we continue to give you the latest on the Jets, Jets. So make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the Jets Latest channel so you get a notification or an alert every time I am telling you what is next up with the green and white. That'll do it for this episode here of Jets Latest. We'll see what happens tomorrow. There may be more moves, more transactions to cover for sure with the green and white, and we'll be here to talk about it on Jets Latest. Have a good one. We out of here. Peace.